Emily Carter's hands shook as the door opened. Her parents were standing there, perfectly still, their eyes scanning the living room like strangers in her home. "Emily," her father said, his voice cold. "We need to talk." Her mother's lips pressed together. Neither smiled. Neither moved closer. Emily's chest tightened. She had imagined this moment 100 times since her son, Jordan, had grown into the man he was now. But imagining it didn't make it easier. Jordan stepped forward, tall, calm, composed. His suit was sharp, his eyes steady, his presence commanding. He wasn't just Emily's son. He was someone her parents had refused to know, someone they had abandoned before he was even born. "Mom, Dad," Emily said, her voice small. "Jordan, you said he wouldn't amount to anything," her father said abruptly. "You said marrying him would ruin your life." He's extraordinary," Emily whispered, but her parents didn't hear her. Or they refused to. Jordan smiled faintly. "It's okay," he said. "I understand you didn't expect me." Her father's face tightened. Her mother's hand trembled on the doorframe. Who are you?" her mother stammered, and the words made Emily flinch. "You are looking at the son you disowned," Jordan said softly, but with authority. "The one you refused to welcome." Emily gasped, covering her mouth. Her parents froze, their carefully maintained composure cracking. Jordan took a measured step forward. "And now," he said, his voice quiet but sharp, "you need something from me." The silence that followed was unbearable. Her father swallowed hard, then whispered, almost too low for Emily to hear, "I didn't think it would be like this." Jordan's eyes flicked toward his mother, then back to the couple. "You should have thought of that before." And in that moment, Emily realized that all the years of silence, of abandonment, of rejection had led to this one moment, where the power had finally shifted. Emily's hands trembled as she watched Jordan step into the living room, the way a man confident in every room he entered could. He carried himself like someone used to being in charge because he was CEO of his own company, a self-made empire built on intelligence, discipline, and lessons he learned growing up without the safety net his grandparents had denied him. Her parents sat in stiff chairs, their faces pale and tight. For a moment, no one spoke. The air between them was thick, charged with years of unspoken words. "Mom, Dad," Jordan began, calm but unyielding. "I'm glad you're here." His mother's lips quivered. We didn't expect this," she admitted quietly. Jordan tilted his head. "You didn't expect me to grow up, to succeed, to live without your approval? That surprises you." Emily tried to intervene, her voice shaking. "They didn't know what they were doing. They just abandoned me," Jordan finished for her. His eyes met his grandparents'. That's exactly what it was. Silence. The weight of years pressed down on them. Richard Carter swallowed hard, his knuckles white against the arms of the chair. "We never imagined." Jordan held up a hand, cutting him off. "You imagined plenty. You imagined I would fail. You imagined my mother would regret her choices. And yet, here we are." Emily's mother broke into soft tears, the first sign of vulnerability she'd shown in decades. We thought we were protecting her," she whispered. Jordan's expression softened, but the authority never left him. "You protected her from what? From making her own life? From loving me?" A quiet hum of tension filled the room. Then Jordan placed a folder on the coffee table. His business portfolio, contracts, balance sheets, company growth charts, tangible proof of what he had accomplished without their help. "Everything you refused to give me, resources, support, acceptance, I built myself," he said. "And now, you need something from me." Emily's breath caught. Her father's jaw tightened. Her mother looked as though she were seeing a stranger and her grandson at the same time. Jordan leaned back slightly, watching them squirm under the realization that they were no longer in control. And then, just as he was about to speak again, the phone rang, loud, insistent, and unexpected. Jordan's hand hovered over it, the pause stretching like a drawn-out heartbeat. Emily's mother gasped. Who is that?" Jordan answered calmly, and the voice on the line immediately shifted the room's tension into something even more shocking. Jordan hung up the phone and set it gently on the table, his calm unshaken, though the room's tension had thickened. Emily's parents exchanged hurried glances. The call had come from a major client, someone Richard had long hoped to sway with connections and influence. Now, it was clear Jordan was the one in control. Emily swallowed hard, her hands gripping the edge of the couch. This is exactly what I was afraid of," she whispered. "They don't even recognize how much he's grown." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "We never wanted to hurt you," she murmured. We didn't think it would matter." Jordan's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. "It mattered. Every decision you made, every door you closed, it built me, but it also showed me exactly what kind of people you are when your world is challenged." Richard's hands clenched into fists on his knees. We thought you'd struggle, that your choices would ruin your life." Jordan leaned forward. "You thought wrong." He gestured toward the folders and charts on the coffee table. "All of this, every client, every deal, every business decision, they all prove one thing. I succeeded without your approval." Emily's mother reached out as if to touch him, then hesitated. "Jordan, you don't have to." "I do," he said quietly, "because now you need me. And this isn't about forgiveness or reconciliation. It's about reality. You walked away, and you missed everything that followed. I want you to understand that fully before I decide what comes next." The room went silent. Emily's parents had no words. The decades of pride, judgment, and rigid control collided with the tangible evidence of Jordan's success. He didn't gloat, he didn't mock, but the truth hit harder than any insult could. Emily exhaled slowly, relief and pride mixing. This was her son, the boy she had raised to be wise, strong, and patient. This was the moment the world had finally caught up with the people who had abandoned her. And then Jordan reached into the folder and pulled out something unexpected, a personal letter from a major investor, praising his leadership and the exact detail that would ensure his parents could not manipulate him. Emily's father froze. Emily's mother gasped. Jordan's calm eyes met theirs. "This one detail changes everything," he said. "If you're curious how a single choice, a single overlooked moment could shift decades of control and expectation, stay with this story." The memory hit Emily like a sudden storm. She could still hear the silence of the house that day, the way her parents had turned away without a word. The wedding invitations had gone unanswered. The congratulations never came. Even Christmases were empty, with chairs left unfilled, rooms echoing with absence. She had chosen Marcus Hill, the man she loved, over the life her parents had meticulously planned for her. She had known the cost, but nothing had prepared her for the cold finality of being cut off. Money, advice, approval, everything had been withdrawn. She had left with nothing but Marcus, her determination, and the knowledge that some doors, once closed, might never open again. Jordan had been born a year later. From his first moments, Emily had been determined to give him what she lacked: love, guidance, and a sense of belonging. Marcus's family embraced them fully, welcoming both Emily and their son into a community where respect, pride, and loyalty weren't optional. They were lived. Jordan's childhood was structured yet nurturing. He learned quickly that the world could be harsh, that people often judged before they saw, and that silence could be a shield as well as a weapon. But he also learned that intelligence, patience, and careful observation could turn disadvantage into strength. Emily remembered the countless nights she watched him read by dim lamplight while the neighborhood buzzed outside. She remembered the afternoons when Marcus took him to local businesses, teaching him the value of work and reputation. And she remembered the day she realized Jordan had already begun to surpass every expectation, every limitation the world and her parents had tried to impose. Back in the present, Emily looked at Jordan. The man standing before her was the culmination of every hardship she had endured. The calm authority in his eyes wasn't arrogance. It was proof of survival and intelligence honed under pressure. Her parents, still frozen in the living room, hadn't recognized this son they had long ignored. And now, they were about to confront the full force of what they had abandoned. A sudden knock at the door broke the tension. The mailman held a large envelope, the kind businesses sent when decisions were finalized. Jordan opened it calmly. Inside was confirmation of a major deal, one that his parents had hoped to influence through connections they no longer possessed. Emily's father's hands twitched. That can't be, he murmured. Jordan's voice cut through the room, steady and deliberate. It is. And that one detail, he said, holding the papers with care, ensures the outcome doesn't change. The room went silent, heavy with the realization that the past could not be undone, but the present now belonged entirely to Jordan. Jordan leaned back in the leather chair, the weight of his presence filling the room. Emily stood beside him, heart pounding, as her parents stared at the documents on the table. Contracts, financial statements, board approvals, all proof that Jordan wasn't just successful. He was untouchable in the world they had tried to control. Her father's lips pressed into a thin line. We thought we had connections, influence we could have helped, he stammered. Jordan's eyes met his father's, steady and unflinching. You could have helped me, he said softly, or you could have walked away. You chose to walk away. And now, the doors you wanted to open for me? I've built my own. Emily's mother's hands shook as she reached toward the contracts. Jordan, No, he interrupted gently. Please, don't. His calm voice carried a weight that silenced them immediately. This isn't about you needing to apologize. This is about understanding that your absence had consequences. And those consequences shaped me into someone who doesn't need approval to succeed. Emily exhaled, relief and pride mingling in her chest. Her son, the boy who had once clung to her during nights of fear and uncertainty, was now the man who stood taller than the people who had abandoned them. Her father's eyes narrowed. You are very confident. Jordan smiled faintly. Confidence comes from preparation, persistence, and the lessons of a life where you didn't have the luxury of being coddled. The room went quiet, the tension thickening like smoke. Then Jordan reached into a drawer and pulled out something unexpected, a formal letter from one of the largest investors in his company, addressed personally to him. Emily's mother gasped. That's impossible. That's the kind of approval we could have pulled strings for. Jordan held it up calmly. Yes, and now it's here. But notice one thing. It's not from you, and it never needed to be. That's the one detail that changes everything. Richard's hands clenched. Emily's mother's eyes brimmed with tears. Both realized, with sudden clarity, that the control they had assumed they held had been quietly dismantled. The son they had ignored, the grandson they had refused to acknowledge, had built a world they could not touch. Emily's heart ached, but she also felt a deep sense of pride. This was her son, raised with love and wisdom, showing the consequences of choices made decades ago. And then Jordan's phone buzzed, another urgent notification. He glanced at it calmly, and the small smirk on his face hinted that the next move in this quiet reckoning was about to begin. Jordan's phone buzzed again, and he glanced at the screen without a flicker of hesitation. Emily's parents craned their necks, desperate to see who or what had captured his attention. It's another board update, Jordan said casually, though the subtle shift in his posture made it clear he was in full control. A major acquisition. Something you two probably thought only your influence could secure. Emily's father's face drained of color. You didn't need us? He whispered, voice tight with disbelief. Jordan shook his head slowly. No, and that's the lesson you didn't think I would learn. That one choice of yours, turning your back on your daughter, shaped the life I had to fight to build. Emily's mother's hands trembled in her lap. We never imagined, we never expected. Exactly, Jordan interrupted, calm but precise. You never expected me. You never expected my mother to survive your rejection and raise a son with values, resilience, and vision. Emily reached for her son's hand. Jordan, she whispered. Jordan's gaze softened just enough, but it didn't lose its authority. Mom, don't worry about them. I've learned everything I needed. From you, from Marcus, from the community that raised me. I'm standing here because of what I was given, not because of what you withheld. Richard Carter's jaw clenched, then relaxed in a way that made Emily's stomach twist. This was the moment they realized their control over the family had shifted completely. Every expectation, every assumption, every prideful calculation. They had misjudged their daughter, and now they were misjudging their grandson. Her mother's voice cracked. "We need to fix this. Please, Jordan, let us help, let us." Jordan raised a hand. "You need to understand one thing. I didn't grow up needing your approval. I didn't grow up depending on your validation. And the one detail you overlooked all these years, the one small, simple truth, is that I never needed you to become who I am today." Emily exhaled, tears rolling down her cheeks. The quiet strength in her son, the wisdom, the calm authority, it was breathtaking. Richard's hands shook as he reached toward the table, as if trying to grasp something tangible to regain control. But the folders, the contracts, the emails, the evidence, they were all Jordan's, all meticulously built. And then Jordan's phone buzzed one last time. He picked it up and, with a small, almost imperceptible smile, said, "This is the final confirmation. The choice you made years ago, it can't be undone, but now you understand the consequences." Emily's mother gasped. It's real. All of it." Jordan leaned back, calm, unyielding. "Yes. And now, the power lies where it always should have. In truth, in preparation, and in the life I've built, without you. If you're wondering how a single choice, decades ago, could shape the life of someone entirely, keep listening. The next chapter shows how the final reckoning unfolds. The room was heavy with silence. Emily's parents sat rigidly in their chairs, their carefully rehearsed composure shattered. Every paper, every contract, every notification on Jordan's phone was proof of a life they had refused to nurture, a life they had abandoned. Jordan stood and walked slowly toward the large window overlooking the city. The skyline glimmered in the late afternoon sun, tall and unyielding, just like him. He didn't need to yell or threaten. The quiet authority in his posture said everything. "I've spent my life building something real," he said without turning around. "Something that doesn't rely on anyone who chose to walk away. Something you assumed you would control, but never could." Emily's mother's hands were clasped tightly, knuckles white. "Jordan, please. We thought we were protecting your mother." Jordan finally turned to face them. "Protecting her?" His voice was soft but cutting. "You weren't protecting anyone. You were protecting your pride. You turned your back, hoping life would punish her. You thought I'd fail too." Her father's jaw twitched. We didn't expect. "You didn't expect me to grow," Jordan said, gesturing toward the folders on the table. "You didn't expect her to survive without you. And you certainly didn't expect the life I built with my own two hands. And now you're asking for something you never earned the right to ask for." Emily's hand found his, squeezing gently. Her tears had dried, replaced with pride. She knew what was coming, and so did Jordan. The doorbell rang suddenly. A courier delivered an envelope addressed to Jordan, stamped with the official seal of a major partnership he had been negotiating. Emily's father reached for it reflexively, but Jordan's hand hovered over it first. "This," Jordan said, holding up the envelope, "is the final detail. It proves that the life you rejected has flourished, and any influence you thought you had, it no longer exists." Her mother's lips parted, but no words came. Her father's hands trembled. They were finally forced to confront the truth. The grandson they never acknowledged had surpassed every expectation, every hope, every plan they had ever imagined. Jordan stepped back, letting the weight of the moment settle. "I didn't need your help," he said softly. "I didn't need your approval. And now, I decide how we move forward." The room was quiet. Emily's parents could no longer manipulate, bargain, or charm their way back. The reckoning had arrived, and Jordan held the balance of power. The evening sun poured through the living room windows, casting long shadows over the now silent room. Emily's parents sat stiffly, their pride and certainty completely dismantled. Jordan stood near the window, calm, composed, and in total command of the space, just as he had been building his life all these years. Emily stepped beside him, her hand brushing his. She felt the full weight of the journey, the years of rejection, the nights of struggle, the hard lessons they had all endured. But now, everything had led to this moment. Jordan had grown beyond what anyone had predicted, shaped by love, resilience, and a community that had embraced them when others had walked away. Her mother's voice was small, almost a whisper. "Jordan, we never realized how far you'd come, how much you'd become." Jordan met her gaze, steady and unshaken. "You didn't realize it because you chose to walk away," he said softly. "You missed everything, and now you see the consequence of that choice." Her father tried to speak, but no words could undo decades of absence. He looked at his grandson, at the proof in the documents, the portfolio, the deals, the influence Jordan had quietly amassed. All the power they had assumed they held had shifted. Emily's mother's eyes glistened with tears. "Can you forgive us?" she asked. Jordan smiled faintly, not with arrogance, but with quiet dignity. "Forgiveness isn't what this is about. Understanding is. You need to understand what your choices created and what you let go of." Richard Carter leaned back in his chair, defeated, and nodded slowly. Emily watched, pride swelling in her chest. The people who had tried to control her life, and by extension, her son's life, had finally learned that power doesn't come from control. It comes from what you build when others walk away. Jordan stepped toward the door, checking his phone one last time. Another notification popped up. Successes, confirmations, approvals. All the tangible results of a life he had built without their interference. He looked at his mother. "We've come a long way," he said, "and it's just the beginning." Emily nodded, holding back tears. "You've shown them everything," she whispered. Jordan turned to his grandparents one last time. "You didn't give me anything," he said, "and yet, I'm everything you didn't expect. Remember that." As he walked out, the room remained heavy with quiet, the gravity of decades of absence pressing down. Emily's parents sat together, humbled and aware of the life they had abandoned, while outside, Jordan stepped into the world he had built, a world full of promise, power, and the respect he had earned. If this story resonated with you, make sure to subscribe and share it. Some truths are only understood when witnessed, and some victories are silent but unshakable.